Hello. Hey, everybody, how y'all doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you are, whatever time it is when you listen to this. Welcome to my channel. All right, so this reading is going to be for Life Path 3. If you want to know how to calculate your life path, you add up all of the numbers to your birthday and you keep adding them up until you get down to a single number, unless it's an 11, a 22, a 33, or in some cases it may get up to like a 44. But that's not as common. All right, this is the reading for Life Path 3. All right, Life Path 3. The intelligence, right? The intelligence, the doing what you feel, that guiding force, those all those things would be like really important for you, Life Path 3, okay? So we're gonna kick into it, right? See exactly what's going on with you. Hopefully you guys are having a good day today, right? I'm hoping you guys are really having a good day today. All right. All right. So got two cards out. Family room and message. So this 2, 1, and this 7, right? And 21 being 7 times 3, right? But also what it's giving is life path 3, things that would have happened to you at age 21 and 7, depending on what's going on. Now, the irony that comes into place with it is you have certain cycles in your life, right? The life of, or sorry, every 7 years, right? You'll feel like you're doing something, and then at the 9 portion, that'll be when it's actually complete, right? Or you would have completely made your mind up about how you feel about something. That's part one. Part two is there being this understanding, right, of what it is that will be going on with a family message, right? And what the family room is. Now, parlor. Okay, some of the stuff that will be coming up, it'll be about like the parlor aspect. Like if you had, or a drawing room is something else that I'm kind of getting from that. And there being an expectation, right? With varying aspects at the age of 28. Now, that would be like your fourth 7 year cycle, right? So, paying some attention to those varying things and aspects. All right. All right. That being said, some of the other things it is that'll come into place with this whole family room and message, it'll be about some, possibly some mail, right, that could come in to a place or space. Another thing is the stability and practicality that comes into place with initiating different ways to view some things. Okay, so life path 3, it'll be the low vibration, right? If you're operating out of your root and sacral chakra, mid vibration, if you're powering through and you're dealing with your solar plexus and your heart chakra, higher vibration, it'll be what it is that you will be speaking or communicating, your third eye, and your crown chakra. So you got to pay attention to all those varying aspects. Also, one of the other things that's really kind of coming to me is in this 21, in this 29, not 29, some, okay, it must have been some stuff that would have come into place with 29. And when you get that 21 and that 7, and it equals 28. So within that family room message, there being some sort of expectation that will come into place. Life path 3, so you want to pay that some attention. But one of the things that was like really, really calling to me in this, what is the amount of candles on this chandelier, right? And it's 9 candles on the chandelier, right? And it's saying family room, so it might even be about like a tea room and things of that nature. So you know where this will fit for you, okay? All right. So and family room also is kind of given like the different parts of a house, of course. But when I'm saying the different parts of the house, I'm thinking the different parts of how things will be structured in air signs in partnerships. That's the other thing, and what the expectation is for a partnership. Okay, so just paying those things some attention. Now, at the lowest vibration, right? If a person is operating out of their root chakra, dependent even in that regard, life path 3, if you're operating out of your root chakra, some of it will be about survival. while the other part of it will be about thriving. That's at the highest vibration, right? With that root chakra essence and that whole expectation, right? Within there being stability and practicality and what it is that would be cultural, and how culture and how you can change a culture. You could change the culture of something. I'm saying culture, but lack of mathematics is given. You know how you got the little petri dish. So yeah, because even in that, the family room would be like the lab. So just pay some of those things attention in regards to, okay, what it is that would be happening and would be going on in the respect of what it is that would be cooking up or cooked up. Hmm. Interesting. And then there being this Ace of Wands reverse and this Truth reverse. Okay, so one not having a passion, new beginning, and not pausing. That's part of it. The other portion of it will be about what will go on in last week with some people not being healed and it being a cycle that's not open for some, right? Or it being a cycle open. And the other portion of it is one not acknowledging the universe, is kind of what I'm getting from that. But this is in the knowing more aspect of things. So the whole Ace of Wands, yeah, and last but not least, is definitely given how one wouldn't, how some candle magic for one not to heal, or candle magic so one wouldn't pause or take a break, and within a cycle being open and not being recognized. In short, the cycle, yeah, in short, the cycle, continuing a cycle for one not to be recognized or for there to not be recognition. All right. Yeah, short is giving it whole not, a person not knowing, or a person not knowing who it is. That okay, I'm gonna say this, like path three, whether this is you or another individual, right? What you need to pay attention to is the importance that you put on recognition or you recognizing an individual. Okay. Uh, yeah, because in the lowest forms, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. You should want to be able to identify yourself, right? And then this Knight of Wands reverse, one not this is about the impulses, the impulses that come into place within, whether it doesn't, and being for lack of a better phrase, a fuck boy or a fuck girl, right? But also this is dealing with one's impulsive nature and not their intuitive nature, right? In love and what your impulses would be in love. So, and I'm getting what I'm getting from this like that three. If you're examining what your impulses are in love, you might need to really pay attention to what you're operating out of, because when you operate out of your lower chakras, right, it will cause for you to have a lot of issues, and that would definitely cause problems for you in regards to having the intelligence, because that's something that's really important for you, and intelligence and having all of the information, right, that'll come into place. And I'm glad I said that, because we got this winning at all costs, but then one not being a friend, and then the disappointment that comes into place with lust, right? I should have known it. I should have known that that was gonna be something that came up. Life path three, right, and the competitive nature that comes into place with being prime or being at your prime, however it is that will come into place to within for you. Okay. One of the other things is that I personally acknowledge is the full on growth that could come into place, and that's what the culture is, and what the culture is versus when you're the age 21 versus the age 7 versus the age 28, and how it is you have to really pay attention to how things shift and change, especially in if we're talking about partnerships and expecting to be a partner, but you're not friends with this person. That's a little odd. Not friends and you're not intimate. Like there hasn't been a personal exchange. It's given that whole casual dating, and it's really not casual dating. It's really just having sex with multiple people. I'm gonna need you, like Pat Three. Please make sure you get your cords cut and stuff like that before you become serious about relationships. Okay, there's that portion. The other part of it, uh, that I'm really getting at this is in a friend. You don't compete with your friends, right? There's no need to compete when you're a friend. There is no such thing. Oh, that's what it is. There is no such in 11:11 when there is no such thing as friendly competition because as they say, all is fair in love and war, right? So you saying, "Oh, I was just competing with my friends," so no, there, yeah, you'll lose people behind it. Don't do that. That's be the reason why I tell people set themselves apart, set yourself apart, right? Don't be competing and all this other stuff. Just be yourself, right? In those regards, that's that portion. The other part of it is it's going to be that whole ideal set of the impulses that come if you're not an alchemist, right? And the passion is beginning to be healed in a friendship, right? Uh, well, and that's the other portion. You lusting after a friend. If you lust after your friend, you know what I mean. You want it to be something more, right? And that whole the guise, Guise, or disguise that comes into place with, oh, I just want to be friends, and the reality is that's not what you really want. It's a trap. Just as I was saying that, it's a trap. That Five of Wands came out. So we got the Five of Swords, the Five of Cups, and the Five of Wands. Ultimately, there is this call for within one not pausing, there being a major shift in thought, emotion, and action. And that will be what will provide justice. Justice and balance in regards to one walking in one's truth or walking in your truth, life path three. And the conflict, right, that'll come into place with this this contract, right? Even if it is a spiritual contract, you would have had to agree with it, right? Part of the conflict that'll come into place is if there's been a candle influence into it. And seeing, and y'all know I can't pass by certain things. It looking like a W. It looking like a W. So pay attention to the direction that you're going in or that you will want to take. Yep, with this five, with this Hierophant and this Eight of Cups. In short, the transcendental spiritual truths that comes within there being an abundance of emotion and there being a clash of emotion in the culture within one walking away. So the transcendental spiritual truth of one walking away from the community, and why it is one would walk away from a community. Part of this, I'm gonna go ahead and say life path three, whether this is you or the other person, and this Five of Swords, that whole winning at all costs, and both of these coming out to look like what would initially be an inverted pentagram. Now, here's the deal that comes into place. Everybody always wants to look at these symbols as if they truly understand what it means. Inverted pentagram doesn't necessarily have to mean that it is what constitutes as quote unquote satanic. If you do your studies on Satanism, it's realistically more so the pagan aspect of nature, acknowledging nature. Part one, part two. Uh, I'll I'll say this. This is why I have no judgment. I've had more understanding and better conversations that would be non-judgmental with a Satanist than I have with Christians. Do with that what you will. Part one, part two. When it comes to the extremes that Christianity provides, it's really easy for a Christian to go into Satanism, especially depending on what the prayers are when they're appointed. Right? Some of the things that I've heard that people would ask God to do, it's like, okay, that is totally not you. You sure you like Jesus? I'm just saying, you'll be amazed. And even the transcendental spiritual truth that there being two parts to a spirit, right? That's the whole yin and yang aspect, as well as being inside of one's mind, walking away inside one's mind, and there being this whole emperorhood or this emperor aspect inside of the mind, right? Now, the last of the mathematics that'll come into place is there would have been a situation that would have been lust filled, and you wouldn't have been about a friendly encounter or anything of that nature. It would have been based completely out of balance, right? And within it being based completely out of balance, the transcendental spiritual truth that is, uh, whether it's a younger person or older person is irrelevant, but even in the priesthood, is that there would have been this winning at all costs, and within this walking away and shifting in this walking away, and there being an abundance of thought about being an emperor and what it is to be an emperor, what it is to, that Aries essence. Now, in that emperorhood, right, you have a duty to protect the staff and the world. Okay, so whether this is the president, whether this is upper management, whatever, what have you, doesn't matter. You have a duty and a responsibility to protect these people and to protect their spirit, right? Especially even with this winning at all costs. This Five of Swords keeps coming up, and in the whole competitive nature, right? And the impulse to be an emperor. In short, being a natural leader is one of the things it is that I'm kind of getting from that. So, Life Path 3, with you encountering different things, and even in the thought process of acknowledging different transcendental spiritual truths that come into place to within for you in either what is written or what it is that will be thought and what it is the religion and things of that nature. You got to pay that some attention. One of the things I will go ahead and say is if you are utilizing any spiritual text, right? Any spiritual to hurt another individual who's done nothing to you, you do constitute as a Bible thumper. You constitute as a Bible thumper. You know why? Because you're taking, it's what you're doing with God's work. That's that portion. And the conflict that comes into place with what constitutes as God's work, right? So I'm hoping that helps in that regard. All right, let's get this last little portion, this wisdom, right? And I'm only speaking from for myself because I like to talk to people in real life. Okay, I don't particularly care for the internet and everything because people will say one thing on the internet and live they're like completely different in real life. So I don't go for the illusions and all that other good stuff. Okay, all right. So let's see. Oh, what? Okay, thank you. Oh my. So it looks like it's some earth magic that will be going on. Earth magic or earth bending. Earth magic, earth bending. Right? Death, overall essence. So there being some endings. That's one portion of it. But in this whole this death card, right? It's actually being like by a beach, so to speak, and within being by the beach or even a lake, right? The water is rushing up, and there's this symbol on a rock as a marker. So, what it is that one would have been marked with, or how it is one would mark a person for death. Hmm. And it's a four and a six. So, it's going to be what it is that one would nurture in regards to an organization. Part one, part two is the transformation. So for some people, right, if you're dealing with actual deaths, my condolences, Um, and in regards to there being a transformation, right? The wisdom that comes into place with and that Scorpio essence, and we also part of Venus, and we also have part of Mars. And if you, in this love aspect, if you're still viewing love and relationships as Mars and Venus opposed to Mars and Uranus, if you're looking at it as Mars and Venus, I'm not going to be the person to help you because it does not make sense. It's too much friction and it's too much chaos, too much commotion, too much conflict, right? And whether you realize it or not, life path 3, you can run into for real, ultimately being alone, seriously, because you're competing over what you would think looks good, right? Opposed to what is actually good for you. Now, in this conflict with the transcendental spiritual truth that'll come into place, it'll be about the deception and wisdom that comes into place with integrity and compromise. You got the owl, you got, of course, the crows, and what other animals? You got the lion, and you got the horse, right? Because I haven't done an animal reading in a while. So you got to pay that some attention. But with that being a part of an issue, right? Whether or not a person has integrity and compromise, and whether or not the deception and wisdom that comes into place with integrity and compromise, meaning it being a part of a conflict if a person has integrity. And it would have been some deceptions that would have come into place with the person having integrity on the right hand, and then on the left hand it'll be about the wealth and the ringmaster of scrutiny, right? In short, having a lot of discernment and clear vision and paying attention to details. So in regards to this, right? Yeah, because it's given right hand path, left hand path, and I'm only saying that because it's two, because it's two cards in each, and the balancing act, and what it is that we just learned. This is definitely coming out of the what it is that was just identified beyond the shadow of a doubt with Libra and Aries essence. Did you do the work on your Libra and Aries? Sure, what constitutes as being balanced to, with, and for you? Integrity that comes within the inside, the outside, and all around you. All right. And opposed to good and bad and better and all this other stuff. Opposed to that, are you being true to who you are, like Patrick, that be you or the other person, right? And there being a wealth of I'm gonna go ahead and say signs and symbols that come into place with the intelligence of what it is that one would constitute as nurturing things being at an end. Now, because the song that I'm hearing is "We don't want to ever end." In a conflict aspect, that's not good. That's not good. That is not good. Especially when we're talking about on this last portion inside one's mind, the abundance, and there being an abundance of thought that will be going on the spiritual aspect. It'll be the earth fairy, physical health, grounding and foundations, and circuitous root and perception, the spiral dancer. In short, what this is given is earth being all around. I just heard landmass. Okay, so that's one of them. And if you're Earth Fairy, typically that's Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, but it doesn't have to be, right? Because you need emotion. There's a certain type of emotion that comes with bending Earth, whether people realize it or not, and how the Earth realistically it feels, and it has yeah, it has a core to it. So you know, and the core being really, really hot. So I don't know, however that fits for you. And the other part, Life Path 3 that is given, and then I'll get into these heart cards, right? in that whole earthbending portion, when it doesn't fit and you force it onto a person, and the integrity and compromise portion that comes into place, it's one of those, yeah, because you know one person, or you think you know one person, you think you know all of them. That integrity and compromise, yeah, what it's given in that regard is how it is people stereotype, how stereotype situation, how a person, how everybody has to fit into this one little thing. If they're, yeah, it's the same as if, like, a Taurus, right? You know one, or you've dealt with one Taurus. Well, you dealt with them all. That is not true. Same thing that goes with Aries. Same thing that goes with people who would constitute as from Venus, and people who constitute as from Mars. And if you read that book, from Mars, Women Are from Venus, the malarkey that came into place with it, and how it shaped romance as is depicted today. Okay. Life Path 3, y'all had a whole bunch of heart cards coming out. So, also pay attention to some of the things it is that will be going on in the laughter of the mathematics aspect. With visiting, right? And if you're dealing with a spiritual sickness, um, spiritual psychosis is something that can come into play. So you may need to look into that for yourself or whoever you're watching for. The other portion of it that comes with spiritual psychosis is there isn't a lot of um, grounded reality, and in addition to that, there being this aspect of the situations that would have surrounded. Okay, I don't want. I have to acknowledge it because, but the situations that would have surrounded a child's death or a child's end. Oh my goodness. Acceptance is the key to inner peace. At times, we must accept things as they are. Yeah, it'll be the other portion of this. If it's Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, short, not being a short Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, that's part of it. The other portion of it would be, yeah, with that higher vibration. The other part of it would be if a child's sign, right, or a person's sign is Aries, they'll try and treat them like a baby, or they act like a baby just because that's what they say is supposed to happen. We're all grown here, right? Now, if we're talking in regards to the children being disappointed, right, in regards to us, that's talking about some pedophilic stuff, and I don't want to really get into it because I don't care what nobody say. No one's, that's, no, just no. Part one, part two. The last but not least, right? It'll be in regards to like that Pisces and Scorpio. Those children have a tendency to be more adult in understanding and adult in communication. And so you have to respect that that's a little person. You understand? All children need to be respected as little people because that's where in prior generations we've all messed up so bad. But let me get into this. Acceptance is the key to inner peace. This is the overall essence. Acceptance is the key to inner peace. At times, we must accept things as they are. There is no point trying to change that which is beyond our control. Oh my goodness. The other part, right? Yeah, children have a tendency to be acclimated to things a little bit differently because they all gonna pay attention to different things. It is important right now to take a step back and spend some time alone instead of placing your focus on another. Now's the time to give to yourself. This came in reverse in regards to the Earth Fairy and Spiral Dancer and what it is that could be coming in. In short, opposed to taking a step back to really come together and figure out whatever it is that would need to be done within, you keep doing things on repeat the exact same way. If you fail, if you failed the first time or you mucked it up the first time, you're not going to get it right any other time if you doing it that exact same way because you're trying to put a person in the same box as everybody else. And I don't know about y'all, but I personally don't like a person putting me in a box because first and foremost, I don't fit. That's that part. The other part, no, because the other part of it will be about with that whole being locked in jail and things of that nature. Yeah, doing things outside of the way that you know intellectually that will go on. Yeah, it's a setup. It's not really good. Like Path 3, and you all know, you would know this because within your collecting of information, that being what you would do, being a researcher, is certainly one of them. Reporters, researchers. Let me think. With that Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, a profession that'll come into place with that. Yeah, and when a child was passed away in May, and some of it would have been how a child may not have passed away, but they would have transformed into an adult at that time. So there's that portion. If you could do anything, what would it be? The answer dwells in your heart, not in your mind, for the heart is the gateway to the soul. While imagining all unwanted thoughts dissolving into light and creating room for new opportunities and possibilities for your life, in a sacred union, honor and treasure your relationship, for it is truly sacred, and there being reflection. So you got to take some time to reflect and look inside yourself, right? Not necessarily at the other person. Give each other some space at the moment. Trust and have faith that all will work out for the best. And this is that five. This is would be that 5 of cups, right? With these 5 heart cards in sacred unions, right? In a sacred union, yeah, because what it's given is how a person would have tried to bind a child to someone out of lust. I'm gonna need y'all to stop doing it. Yeah, especially with burning these candles and candle magic. Y'all don't do that because you can really mess up some stuff like for the entire world because you're trying so hard to get your way and you're not actually doing what you would need to do, and it's realistically is based out of a lustful situation that would be an attempt to provide balance to a situation. Yeah, because then it'll be one of those, okay, it's like that person is lusting after a child, opposed to it being that person. Yeah, it just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. It's a very ill. Let me get an angel message real quick, and then hopefully that helps you guys out. Okay, this I don't know if it okay, it's coming up. That was a really huge issue that came into place. There's a difference between a person being 16 years old in physical body, but being like 10,000 years old in spirit. And the way that that will work out is you being 38. You're not supposed to get with a 16-year-old and you 38. That's molestation. They were trying to pass that shit off as twin flame and soulmates, and the reality is, in the soulmate aspect, that means that you would need to guide that person, not groom that person, unless you're a barber or you know. I want to say that that's better. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, because with all of the stuff that it is that I've seen through these cards, anyway. See yourself doing well in this situation and have faith in a positive outcome. And books. Okay, so this must be some stuff that could be on social media, or it could be a series. One of the Babysitters Club is definitely one of the series. Your life purpose involves writing, reading, editing, or selling spiritually based books, right? And even yeah, because that'll pertain to the culture of things. Okay. So I'm hoping it helps you guys out just a little bit, gave you a tad bit of an inclination as to a few different things that could be going on. Pay attention to how this manifests for you, Life Path 3, especially if you're an alchemist. This could be identifying some things that would be going on with church names or even I want to say federal buildings, right? Um, but yeah, so pay attention to those things. If you like to schedule your own personal touch of clarity, you're more than welcome to do so at lightwork@gmail.com. All right, and remember, light work, it ain't light work. It is not light work. Enlightenment is not light work. Paying attention is not light work. Understanding the signs and symbols around you, it is not light work. And that's why you have to stay light while you work.